Hey mathematics learners, welcome to Distance Learning with Lee, where I make learning mathematics super easy. In this video tutorial, guys, I'm going to be taking you guys through the proof of the cos rule, right? Given an acute angle triangle, right? So I've already explained in the previous video tutorial what an acute triangle or an acute angle triangle is, and that is basically a triangle where all the interior angles are angles that are less than 90 degrees. Okay, but before we get started with today's video tutorial, guys, please make sure that you are subscribed to the channel. Please make sure that you click on that notification bell so that you get notified every single time uploading new video tutorial, guys. And don't forget to give this video tutorial a huge thumbs up because that really helps the channel grow and it helps the channel to reach more learners that want to better their mathematics marks. So without any further ado, guys, let's get started with today's video tutorial. All right, so before we even get started with the video tutorial, guys, what is the cos rule, right? So for example, I did mention that for you to be able to apply the cos rule, right, you need to have either three sides that are known, or you need to have a side angle side, right? So two sides and an included angle. So you can apply the cos rule. Let's say, for example, if you're given this side as 12 centimeters, right? And this side is also given and it's 16. And you're given this angle, right? As let's say, for example, 56 degrees, right? So in this case, let's say, for example, they asked you to calculate the length of BC. In this case, we would be able to use the cos rule, right? Because we would have been given two sides, side AB and side AC, and an included angle, right? So you've got side, angle, and side. So in this case, we would be able to basically use the cos rule to find the length of BC, okay, right? And how would we apply the cos rule if we had a scenario like this, right? To just be able to apply the cos rule, right, we can even just write side BC as small letter a. We can write side AC as small letter b because side AC is opposite our angle B, right? And then we can write side AB as small letter c because side AB is the side that is directly opposite our angle C. Then we would say that our a squared, because that is the side that we want, remember we want side BC, is equal to, right, b squared plus c squared minus 2b times c cos of the angle between the two known sides. Right, so in this video tutorial, guys, this is what we're actually trying to prove. How did they actually get to this formula, right? To basically calculate the length of side BC or side A, right? Another condition that needs to be satisfied before we can use the cos rule is that we need to have three known sides for us to be able to apply the cos rule. Right? So for example, let's say they gave you the side as 12, they gave you this side as 16, they gave you this side as 18, right? And we had to basically calculate angle A or angle B or angle C. In this case, we can also use the cos rule, okay? To basically help us calculate this unknown angle A, right? So this is basically what the cos rule is about, right? And in this video tutorial, guys, I'm going to be taking you through the proof of the cos rule, right? So that moving forward, we are able to apply the cos rule knowing the proof behind it. Okay, so let's get started. So what I said is that we're trying to prove that, right? A squared is equal to b squared plus c squared minus 2bc cos of A, right? Where am I getting the A's from, right? So side BC can be written as small letter A's. Side AC can be written as small letter B, right?
And side AB can be written as small letter c.
In our proof of the cos rule, we're going to use the theorem of Pythagoras to help us prove the cos rule, okay? And for us to be able to use the theorem of Pythag, right, we need to have a right angle triangle.
And from what we can see here, we can already see that we do not have a right angle triangle, right? So we need to draw a construction line, right? And we're going to call that construction line line BD, okay? And after drawing that construction line, we see the triangle BDC and triangle BDA are actually now right angled triangles. And now we can actually start off our proof, right? And use the theorem of Pythagoras, right? To prove that a squared is equal to b squared plus c squared minus 2bc cos of a. So once we've drawn our construction line, okay, to start off our proof, we can focus on triangle BDC. And what does the theorem of Pythagoras say? Okay, the theorem of Pythagoras says that, okay,
your hypotenuse squared, right, which is your BC squared, is equal to your x squared plus your y squared, right? So we're going to write that down, right? In triangle BCD, right,
your BC squared is equal to,
right, your x squared, which is your DC squared, plus your y squared, which is your BD squared. Okay, this is a theorem of Pythagoras, right? Okay, we're not just making up things, okay?
so in this case, we already know that our BC, right, can be written as your A. So it can be written as your A squared, which is equal to,
what is DC, guys, right? What do you notice about DC? Okay, so we can see that, right, from here to here, from here
to here, right, that length is actually B, okay? So what does that say about DC, okay? DC is actually length B, okay, minus AD, all right? So we can write DC as that.
B minus AD all squared plus BD squared. Okay? And then here we can just expand that bracket, right?
So how would we expand this bracket, okay? You square the first term, okay? You multiply B and AD together, all right? And then you double it, okay? And then, right, you are going to square your last term. So you're going to square your negative AD, and negative AD all squared is positive AD squared. Okay.
So we've basically now removed our brackets there. We've basically distributed that bracket actually, okay? And then now what do we notice? You've got AD squared plus BD squared, right? So let's see, okay? AD squared, right? That's your AD squared plus BD squared. That's basically, we can basically apply the theorem of Pythagoras today because we know that if your AD squared plus BD squared is equal to your C squared, right? So that AD squared plus BD squared is actually C squared, right? So we can write it as C squared, right? Meaning, if we had to rewrite this as A squared is equal to B squared minus 2 times B times AD plus C squared. Okay, and that is basically going to be our equation number 1, right? Here, we've basically used the theorem of Pythagoras, right? To basically simplify that part there. We've used the theorem of Pythag, right? Okay, so we're done with that part here. So already now, what can we see? We see that we need to basically sort out that AD here, right? So we need to find what AD is, right? And we already know we're dealing with the cos rule, right? So we already know that we want to find cos of an angle, right? So in this case, we want to find cos of our angle A because if you measure from the positive x-axis going to our line AB, that is our angle A there, right? So we can find the cos of that angle there. right? And that will help us to basically determine the length of our side AD, right? So we need to state that in triangle ABD, cos of our angle A, what is cos, guys, right? We know that we can use our trig ratios in triangle ABD because we basically have a right angle triangle. So we can use SOHCAHTOA to basically determine the length of this unknown side D, right? And in this case, we are using cos, right? Because we're dealing with the cos rule, right? So the cos of that angle is your adjacent over hypotenuse, okay? So your adjacent is your side AD, the side that is adjacent this angle, right? So next to this angle is the side AD over your hypotenuse. What is the hypotenuse? The hypotenuse is your C, right? So that's your C, okay? And then here we can just cross multiply by C on both sides, multiply by C on both sides, meaning that C times cos of our angle A is equal to AD. And then we can basically call this equation number 2, right? And then here it becomes nice and easy, okay? Because we have equation 1, okay, where we've got a squared is equal to b squared minus 2bad plus c squared. We've got equation 2, which is equal to c times cos of a.
And we can basically substitute these two equations into each other. And if we substitute now equation 2 into equation 1, what do you get? You'll have a squared is equal to b squared minus 2b. What is our AD? We already know what our AD is. Our AD is c times cos of A plus c squared. And in this case, what can we see? We can already see that we've already proven our cos rule, okay? So what's left for us to do now is just rearrange these values, right? So we're going to have our b squared plus, we're going to move the c squared to the front, okay, minus 2 times b times c times cos of A. And now we can basically see that we have basically proven our cos rule.
So I hope that you guys found this video tutorial super informative, right? Okay. What's important that you guys need to remember when you're doing the proof of the cos rule is that we use the theorem of Pythagoras, right, as a guide to help us get to the proof, okay? Then we know for us to use the theorem of Pythagoras or to use Pythag, right, we need to have a right angle triangle, right? So that is where we now do our constructions and draw our construction line, okay? Then we focus on triangle BDC, right? We focus on triangle BDC, right? And from triangle BDC, we're able to basically state the theorem of Pythagoras that your hypotenuse squared, A squared, is equal to your D squared plus your DC squared plus your BD squared. And from there, we could see that actually this DC can be written as your B minus your AD, right? And then that's where we notice that, oh, actually that AD squared plus your BD squared is actually C squared, okay? Based on Pythag, right? And then from there, we were able to take it further and focus on triangle ABD, right? We measure the angle A, okay, from the positive x-axis to the line AB. That is the angle that we're basically going to use to help us find our side AD, right? And because we're dealing with the cos rule, we know that we're going to use the trig ratio cos, right? So cos is adjacent side over your hypotenuse. So it's AD over your C, right? And then from there, we just cross multiplied by C, okay? You multiply the left-hand side and the right-hand side by C, and from there became easy. Substitute equation 2 into equation 1, and we have basically proven the cos rule, right? Given an acute angle triangle. Okay, so I hope you guys enjoyed this video tutorial. I hope it was detailed and super easy to follow, right? Please don't forget to share this channel with your friends, and I'll see you guys on the next video tutorial. I'll be taking you guys to the cos rule proof if you are given an obtuse angled triangle.
That is it, guys, and I'll see you guys on my next upload, Distance Learning with Lee, where I make learning mathematics super easy. Bye, guys.